one signature. On the 26th of December 2025, one single signature changed everything. And with it, the territorial integrity of an African nation was attacked by a foreign government. Israel became the first country in the world to formally recognize Somalia as an independent state. Not one African nation was consulted, not the African Union, not the Federal Republic of Somalia, just a phone call, a signature, and a press release. To understand why this is dangerous, you need to hear the full story. Stay with me. To understand what is happening today, you need to go back in time. The territory we now call Somaliland was once the British Somaliland Protectorate. It was a separate colonial territory. It was separate from Italian Somalia in the south. When Britain ended its rule in June 1960, the territory became independent for just 5 days. After those 5 days, the territory chose to unite with Somalia. Together, they formed the Republic of Somalia on the 1st of July 1960. One country, one flag, one government. But in 1991, the government collapsed. The country fell into civil war. Decades of dictatorship and conflict destroyed the state from within. And in that chaos, the northern regions declared independence. They called themselves the Republic of Somaliland. Since then, for more than 34 years, Somaliland has operated as a self-governing territory. They build institutions. They held elections. They have their own currency and military. And for all 34 of those years, not one country gave them formal recognition. Not one. Until now. And the country that broke that silence is where this story gets dangerous. Stay with me. Over those 34 years, Somaliland built something real. The city of 𝗪𝗛𝗥𝗡 became a functioning capital. The streets are relatively stable. The institutions are relatively democratic. The people of the Somaliland region have suffered and built under incredibly difficult conditions. That is the truth, and it deserves acknowledgement. Supporters of Somaliland recognition often say they are democratic, they hold elections, they are more stable than Somalia. Do they not deserve recognition? It is a genuine question, and it deserves a genuine answer. But democracy and stability, however admirable, are not the legal standard for international recognition. If they were, we would have to redraw borders across the entire continent. The African Union, and before it, the Organization of African Unity, establishing a founding principle in 1963. That principle is this: you do not redraw colonial borders. Not because those borders are perfect. They were drawn by Europeans without African consent. But changing them unilaterally opens a door that cannot be closed again. Think about what that door looks like if it is opened. Biafra in Nigeria, Abasonia in Cameroon, the Casamance in Senegal, Cabadinia in Angola. Africa has more than 50 active and dormant separatist movements. If outside powers can recognize any of them based on their own interests, bypassing the AAU, bypassing the host governments, then African sovereignty means nothing. If you are learning something new today, subscribe to African Profile. We publish a new story every week. Stories of African leaders and politics that most of the world does not talk about. Just hit subscribe. Do not miss the next one. Now, let us talk about what Israel actually did. On the 26th of December 2025, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a phone call to Somaliland President 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗙 I am signing now as we speak. Israel official recognition of Somaliland. Netanyahu, Foreign Minister 𝗪𝗃𝗏𝗀 and President 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 signed a joint declaration of mutual recognition. Sir announced that embassies would be opened in both countries. Netanyahu framed the move as being in the spirit of the Abraham Accords, the deals brokered during the administration of US President Donald Trump in his first term that normalized ties between Israel and several Arab states. But here is the part the Israeli press did not mention. The real reason behind this recognition has nothing to do with the people of Somaliland. Let us be honest about what is happening here. This is not an act of generosity towards Somaliland. This is whole strategic calculation. Look at the map. Somaliland sits on the Gulf of Aden, one of the most important maritime corridors in the world. Since 2024, Houthi forces in Yemen have been attacking shipping in the Red Sea. That disrupted global trade. It costs billions. It is threatened one of the most vital waterways in the world. Israel has been deeply invested in countering the Houthi threats. Having a friendly partner on the opposite coastline with access to ports and possibly military facilities is enormously valuable to Israel. This is about the Red Sea. This is about Yemen. This is about Israeli military positioning on African soil. And it gets worse because what is being discussed in private goes far beyond flags and embassies. Reports confirm that Mossad, the Israeli Foreign Intelligence Service, spent years cultivating relationships in Somaliland to lay the groundwork for this moment. Netanyahu himself thanked the director of Mossad for his contribution in advancing the recognition. In October 2024, it was reported that Israel and Somaliland were discussing the possibility of an Israeli military base in Somaliland to counter the Houthis in Yemen. In January 2026, a senior official of the Somaliland Foreign Ministry confirmed those discussions are currently underway. Think about what that means. A foreign military power establishing a military base on African soil in a territory claimed by a sovereign African state. Any mandate from the African Union, without any consent from Somalia, without any consultation with any African body. This is not diplomacy. This is something else entirely. And the African Union has a legal framework that makes this clear. Let us look at the law. The United Nations Charter, Article 2, enshrines the principle of sovereign equality of all member states. Somalia is a UN member. The territorial integrity of Somalia is protected under international law. The Constitutive Act of the African Union reaffirmed the principle of respect for borders as they existed at the time of independence. This principle is over 60 years old. It has been the anchor of African stability since 1963. And Israel, a country not a member of the AU, decided to override it. The foreign ministers of Egypt, Turkey, Djibouti, and Somalia held an emergency call immediately after the announcement. They called the recognition a dangerous precedent in violation of the UN Charter. The AU Commission Chair stated clearly, Somaliland remains an integral part of the Federal Republic of Somalia, and the AU firmly rejects any initiative to recognize it otherwise. But words are not enough, and this is where I need to talk directly about the African Union, because their response has been insufficient. The African Union issued a statement, a right statement, but a statement is not the same as action. Words without consequences are just words, and the AU has a pattern across many crises of issuing strong language and then taking weak action. That pattern cannot continue here. The Federal Republic of Somalia said it will pursue all necessary measures to defend its sovereignty and its borders. Those legal measures take money, they take time, they take political support. Somalia should not have to fight this alone. So the question becomes, what must Africa actually do? Not say, do. I want to tell you exactly what in just a moment. The reaction around the continent was strong. The Arab League also criticized the move. The Gulf Cooperation Council expressed concern. Most members of the UN Security Council condemned the recognition. The United States, the only member that did not condemn it, clarified its own position had not changed. The UAE was notably silent. Somalia responded by announcing it would end all Emirati port security deals and cancel defense agreements with the UAE. The message from most of Africa was clear. This recognition is wrong and it will not stand unchallenged. Clarity of message is only the beginning. What Africa needs now is a plan, a real one. Here is what must happen, and I will be specific because fake outrage changes nothing. 1. The AU Peace and Security Council must convene an emergency session dedicated entirely to this issue. Not a general meeting, a dedicated session with a concrete action plan. 2. Somalia must be supported in bringing this matter before the International Court of Justice. The question of whether this recognition is legal must go before the highest court in the world, and Africa must stand behind Somalia every step of the way. 3. African member states must make clear to Israel that full normalization of relations with Africa is conditional on respecting African sovereignty. Africa has enormous leverage. That leverage must be used. 4. The question of a potential Israeli military base on African soil must be treated as a red line. No foreign military base should be established in a disputed African territory without authorization from the African Union. That is not negotiable. And 5, perhaps the most important point of all, and it is about us. Every single person watching this video, African civil society must keep this story alive. Journalists, academics, content creators, members of African diaspora. Government respond to sustain public pressure. The pressure must be sustained. Africa fought too long and too hard for its sovereignty to allow it to be overridden by outside powers pursuing their own agendas. The Federal Republic of Somalia is a sovereign state. Its territorial integrity is protected under international law and under the founding principle of the African Union. Any action that violates that, no matter who takes it, must be called what it is: wrong. What is the lesson of this story? The lesson is this: African sovereignty is not a gift that was given. It was fought for. It was built over generation, and it requires constant defense. When outside powers, no matter how strong, decide that African borders can be redrawn for their own benefit, Africa must respond, not with a statement, with action. The African Union was built for exactly this moment. The question is whether it will rise to meet it. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think the African Union is doing enough? Should other countries follow Israel and recognize Somalia? What must Somalia do next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If this video informed you, please like, share it, and subscribe to African Profile. A new story comes every week. And next, watch the Anyanya movement, because that story connects directly to what you just learned here. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.